You no longer want to be fearful of the world, and you don't want to hold yourself back. However, the idea of dating can be overwhelming and exhausting. Sometimes we become so hyper-focused on making the right decision that we cripple ourselves into a standstill. Hey community, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome to my channel. My name is Janelle, and I am a mental health therapist who discusses everything trauma and mental health related. Don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my new videos. Today I want to talk about dating while healing from complex PTSD. Check out my previous video on complex PTSD. I'll leave the link below in the description box. To date or not to date? That is the million-dollar question. Of course, you're going to ask your friends, your therapist, or trusted family members for advice, but you are the only one that can make that decision. Complex PTSD impacts how we view ourselves and how we view the world around us. We can be left feeling lost, numb, or in a state of hyperarousal. You may also experience low self-esteem, trouble trusting your decision-making, shame, a lack of trust for others, and anxiety, just to name a few symptoms. I completely understand why some people may be apprehensive about dating, but I also understand why some folks just want to jump in and start the dating process. When we think about taking back control of our lives, that can include dating. You no longer want to be fearful of the world, and you don't want to hold yourself back either. However, the idea of dating can feel overwhelming and exhausting. Sometimes we become so hyper-focused on making the right decision that we can cripple ourselves into a standstill. When it comes to dating, some of you may have decided that it's time to put yourself back onto the dating market, while others are curious but you're unsure. You may say something along the lines of, "I've been single forever and I'm ready to date." Or, "How do I know I'll make the right choice when it comes to a partner? What happens if they don't respect my boundaries? I'm not sure. What happens if my standards are too high? I'm nervous I'll end up right back where I started." All of those are valid questions and statements, and not being sure doesn't mean you can't date. However, it's important to ask yourself a few questions before you do. I've come up with 5 questions for you to think about as you contemplate dating while working through complex PTSD. Question number 1, do you have a sense of self? If you've experienced prolonged trauma from childhood, your sense of self may not have developed. If you've experienced prolonged trauma as a teen or as an adult, your sense of self may have been shattered. Everything that you knew to be true has become compromised. This is an important factor to acknowledge when it comes to healing and taking back control. As I mentioned earlier, experiencing complex PTSD can leave you with low self-esteem, low self-worth, feelings of shame, guilt, anxiety, or all of the above. Establishing a solid foundation of self is important because you can be less vulnerable to manipulation and abuse. However, even if you do have a solid foundation, that does not mean you are not susceptible to abuse or manipulation. What does having a sense of self mean? Well, it includes getting to know yourself, your temperament, your likes, your dislikes, your values, your morals, what you stand for. Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Are you both? Are you religious, spiritual, none? All of these are important questions to ask yourself as you navigate who you are and who you want to be in this world. What space do you want to occupy? As you start to know yourself, you'll know the type of person you want to attract and who you are attracted to. If someone were to say something negative about you, you'll be so in tune with yourself that their words won't stick. However, if your foundation is shaky, someone could easily rattle your sense of self because you're not sure what to believe. Make sure your sense of self is built on a solid foundation and not quicksand. Number 2, how are you managing your inner critic? The inner critic can be exhausting. You have all these negative thoughts about yourself. I'm such a loser. I'm such a failure. I'm never going to recover. No wonder I have no friends. No wonder I can't get a date. What's wrong with me? If you've said any of these statements, you're probably battling your inner critic. Imagine if you go on a date and things don't go well for whatever reason. And if your first line of defense is to blame yourself, you need to work on managing your inner critic a little better. No, you are not expected to be perfect in order to date and have everything under control. However, if your inner critic manages to impact your mood and your daily life on a regular basis, you have some more work to do. Yes, we all get triggered once in a while and our inner critic may creep in from time to time. That is completely normal. Pay attention to how you manage your inner critic. Are you treating yourself with care and compassion, or have you become your own bully? Understand the origins of the negative thoughts and treat yourself with compassion. Number 3, are you comfortable with setting boundaries? When you've experienced complex PTSD, it can be difficult to set boundaries because you've been in a constant state of survival. Whether you're walking on eggshells to cater to the abuser, or you are a people pleaser to avoid conflict, and you learn to surrender your own needs and wants in order to survive. Setting boundaries wasn't on the top of your list. This isn't your fault. I often hear, I can't believe I don't know how to set boundaries at my age. I'm so behind. One key factor to remember before comparing yourself to others is that you are at a disadvantage, but now you are ready and willing to do the work. Understand why you need boundaries for yourself and others. Boundaries tells others how to treat you and how you expect it to be treated. Initially, you will be uncomfortable setting boundaries because you are introducing a new pattern of behavior. What makes it more uncomfortable is when people decide to push back against your boundaries. You may give in because it's easier than starting a fight, and you may also think that your boundaries are pushing people away. Yes, they are pushing the wrong people out of your life because people who truly care about you will accept you and respect you and your boundaries. If you would like me to make a separate video on boundaries, comment below. Number 4, are you trying to fill a void? I tend to hear, Janelle, I've been single for 2 years. Janelle, I've been single for 5 months. I've worked on myself long enough and I want to date. There is nothing wrong with wanting to date. However, if you're dating to only fill a void of loneliness or because you think you're missing out, that isn't a good reason to start dating. If you're feeling lonely, that is a very normal emotion to experience. Loneliness is universal and a part of the human experience. When we start the process of healing from complex PTSD, we are on a journey of self-discovery. We are picking up the pieces of our life. The people we once associated with may not be healthy. And as you start to set boundaries, you may find yourself standing alone with no support system. This can definitely take a toll on our social life, and I understand why you may feel lonely. But dating isn't a cure-all. I have a question you can ask yourself. Do I have a life? Or is my life consisting of me going to work and going home? Maybe you need to interact with others on a personal level, or maybe you need to get to know yourself on a personal level. Think about ways to make friends and get to know yourself. Take yourself out on a date and become familiar with your likes and your dislikes. You can read a book, you can paint, you can join a support group, you can join a gym class, or take up a sport. The point is to learn how to make yourself happy and feel content. Dating isn't going to cure your loneliness. It will give you temporary excitement, but when the newness of your partner wears off, you go back to feeling lonely or unhappy. It is not your partner's job to make you feel happy and fill your void. Ask yourself, what do I need? If I was dating, what are some of the things that I would like to do with my partner? Can I do these things on my own? Learn how to fill your void before placing the responsibility onto somebody else. Number 5, are you genuinely ready to date? I often pose this hypothetical question to some of my clients. If a handsome man took you out on a date, made sure that you got home safe and wanted to schedule another date with you, what would you say? Most of them would say, what's wrong with him? They automatically assume that he wasn't being genuine or he was trying to love bomb them. After experiencing trauma, you may not be the most trusting individual, and you may not be used to romantic partners treating you with kindness or respect. Being suspicious, it doesn't mean that you should take yourself off the dating market. It just means that you are cautious. Remember, you are not the same version of yourself prior to receiving support. Utilize the tools that you've learned over the years and put theory into practice. Are you going to make mistakes? Yes. Are you going to be perfect? No. And that's okay. The goal is not perfection. Remember, you deserve to be treated with love, kindness, and respect. Lean into self-compassion and know your worth. Also remember the boundaries you set with yourself and others. It's okay to say no and walk away if something doesn't feel right. If you dipped your toe into the water and you don't feel comfortable, it's okay to take a step back and start the process at a later time. The decision to date is your choice. There are a few things to consider prior to making that decision, and you want to make sure that you are working on creating a solid foundation, which includes having a sense of self, self-compassion, managing your inner critic, setting boundaries, and filling the void of your own loneliness. This isn't easy to navigate. Putting yourself out there is important to reaffirm the techniques that you've learned by working with a counselor or a support system. However, there is no rush. Being single while engaging in self-discovery is amazing. You'll know when you're ready to date. Trust yourself. I hope you found this video informative. Comment below if you're contemplating dating or if you've already started to date. What has this process been like for you? Check out my previous video on narcissistic partners located in the description box, and I'll leave a link for my previous video on complex PTSD. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe as it really helps my channel grow. And let me know what other videos you want to see from me next. Bye for now.